Looking back, it does seem that Elon Musk became the world's richest person by carrying out, and at the time secret for most of us, job for China, accelerating China's rise to global leadership of the auto industry. This is a look at whether Tesla does fit the stooge label, what was the secret job/mission, how did it benefit China, how did China and the mission also help Tesla, and finally, what now? Welcome to a One Finite Planet EV video looking at, firstly, whether the label as China's stooge fits, and with further chapters analysing what is/was China's motive. China doesn't do favours without a motive, and while some argue China's motive was to learn from Tesla, it doesn't really fit with the events and circumstances of Tesla at the time or since. And it seems more likely that China sought to gain from helping a non-Chinese EV company achieve success as a way to accelerate EV transition and pave the way for Chinese companies to sell EVs internationally. The importance to Tesla is that Tesla's sales in China and exports from China have been responsible for a significant percentage of Tesla revenues and profits, and may have been the difference between Tesla failing at critical times in its history and riding through those times to become the world's most valuable automotive company. In 2024, just over 50% of Tesla vehicles were made in China, and 36%, or just over a third, were sold in China. More than Tesla sold in the USA, and more than Tesla sold in the rest of the world beyond China and the USA. Tesla a stooge? Okay, there's no suggestion here that Tesla has been anything but an industry leader with great products. Unlike the three stooges, who are more fools, for the definition of a true stooge, the more capable you are, the bigger the mission you can achieve, and thus the more valuable. So what was the secret mission? Well, first look at what Tesla has achieved in the words of Fred Lambert of Electric. Arguably, Tesla convinced the world EVs are here to stay and are the future of the auto industry, and forced the rest of the industry to invest hundreds of billions of dollars in electric vehicles. Okay, the secret part is, what was China's motive for wanting Tesla to achieve this? China's motive? Well, I was recently invited to attend and report at Everything Electric Sydney, and seeing all the high-tech China EVs made it very clear as to what a motive China would have for wanting Tesla to achieve those goals. I've heard many times that China felt it would take decades to catch up with the likes of BMW on combustion engine vehicle technology, only for all that investment to be wasted when EVs came, and China decided to instead move to the next step for vehicles. Ensuring that next step happened was a tad important to China, and Tesla has been instrumental. Would a Chinese company have been welcomed into global markets with their EVs the way Tesla was? Imagine BYD trying to enter global markets with their EVs if the move to EVs had not already been kicked off by Tesla. It's often said that China must have wanted the EV technology from Tesla. What that belief misses is how much EV technology China already had, and that for China, technology was not the problem. Timelines show that many Chinese brands had production in EVs in China before Tesla released the Model S, Tesla's first true production EV. Tesla China was a deal that began with Elon Musk expressing interest in production as far back as 2013 and selling vehicles in China from 2014. When the deal was negotiated in 2017, around 200,000 EVs were sold annually in the US and almost 800,000 in China. The world's best-selling EV was made by BAIC. What China needed, even within China, was market credibility for EVs, which were, at the time in China, all Chinese. This was a time when the Chinese car-buying consumers wanted prestige from Western brands. VW, Toyota and Honda were the biggest selling car brands, and China's EVs were seen as only suitable for low-end or commercial buyers. The Nissan Leaf is seen as the world's first mainstream mass production EV, only because the BYD E6 that entered production earlier than the Leaf was seen as a vehicle for taxi and other commercial markets. Tesla was the Model S and later the Model X, and these vehicles had prestige. The sales number at decision time, back in H2 2017 and H1 2018, for BAIC, BYD, Tesla and Nissan, don't show Tesla as the sales leader it later became, after production and sales in China ramped up, but Tesla was definitely the prestige leader. In fact, at the time the deal was announced, Tesla was losing $8,000 per minute, in production hell, and as the funding secured post showed, in need of reasons for investor confidence, while China needed EVs to have prestige. BYD, selling only new energy vehicles, rose in sales above sales leaders for over 20 years, Honda, Toyota, and by 2022, VW, not because of the tech from Tesla, but because EVs could finally be seen as desirable by consumers. The unique part of the deal was that this was the first foreign auto brand not required to transfer technology to a local partner. Plus, if you consider what happened, it's not at all clear that tech and ideas from Tesla helped BYD become the juggernaut they are today. At least as often as not, BYD took steps, as with LFP batteries, years before Tesla did. BYD does not appear to have copied Tesla on LFP batteries, 30,000 RPM motors, 1 megawatt chargers, disc suspension, compass turns, or world-leading advances in EV hybrid technology that Toyota is looking at adopting. It's not that BYD is ahead of Tesla in every respect, far from it. It's that Tesla, being in China, has not led to BYD advancing in areas where Tesla is strongest, but that BYD and other China brands are instead advancing in other areas where Tesla has no or less advanced technology. If you look at the EV market in China today, it's not clear that it's Tesla you would be trying to get ideas from. What BYD et al. Did get from Tesla is markets already accepting of EVs and EV technology, and legacy manufacturers in a state of disruption. Of course, it's not like Tesla entered into a deal just to help China. It was a win-win. Tesla got a lot from the deal. At the time the deal was announced, Tesla was in production hell and losing $8,000 per minute. Within 1 month of the deal, Elon Musk made the infamous funding secured tweet, which was either a total fabrication or based on something not quite yet secured, or based on something not yet able to be publicly disclosed. Tesla did raise over $10 billion over the following months, including $5 billion from China. But even the rest of that funding would have been surely helped by having the unique deal to produce and sell in China and keep all the profits. The capital raise did allow Tesla to achieve profitability in Q3 and Q4 of 2018, their first profitability since Q1 2013. But as Tesla had just $8 billion cash pre-pandemic, the company was seen through the pandemic due to a production ramp-up in China, offsetting losses in the US and allowing, in 2020, Tesla to achieve full-year profitability for the first time. Those profits in 2020 raised the company value to $800 billion by late 2020 and enabled a much larger capital raising, with Tesla becoming the most valuable automaker in the world. Again, now in 2024, China was over 1/3 of the total market for Tesla vehicles and the source of over half of all production. Even Apple, who makes around 75% of their iPhones in China, even though they only sell 15% of iPhones there, has to use third-party manufacturer and thus has to share the profit from manufacturing. Interestingly, the maker of around 50% of iPads is BYD. No, Tesla did not alone invent the modern EV. But like the rock band Aha of Norway, the GM EV1, BYD, Carlos Ghosn, and Mate Rimac, the Tesla of the original founders and also the one of Elon Musk, played a key role in shaping what EVs are today. Okay, the convincing of the world that EVs can be so profitable and are here to stay, that was Tesla and China in partnership. But insisting on batteries with enough power to make EVs fun to drive, rather than vehicles people drove while suffering to save the planet, That was Tesla. Reaching profitability as a new automotive company is not easy. The last one, prior to Tesla, if you exclude China's Geely and BYD as not really yet global, was Hyundai in the late 1990s, almost 30 years after having been founded in 1967 and with the aid of very significant government support. The most recent, prior to Tesla, to first become the most valuable car maker in the world was Toyota in 1996, nearly 60 years after they were founded. So that Tesla had help from China in reaching profitability and number one in market value in less than 20 years doesn't change them having been a remarkable company. But it could mean that both profitability and number one market cap could be vulnerable should China decide mission over and allow Tesla to become a victim of market backlash seen in other parts of the world. In China, the messages that are promoted on social media can have a big impact on sales. And messages on social media seem to change depending on how the wind is blowing or something. The rules for Tesla factories are not about to change, but 1/3 of Tesla's global market and the only Tesla market that grew last year could be vulnerable if China loses enthusiasm for Tesla.